Let's start out talking about AKA Jessica Jones, which again is, I know it's like really in some respects under the radar because it is a pretty obscure character for a lot of people, but is a show I'm so excited about because I'm such a fan of the comic book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it for now a few different reasons.
Well, and that's the thing is this. Let's talk about there was two big casting news last week, but the first one, the really big one, was it's a great piece of casting, both if you know the comic because you're like, oh, cool, but if you don't, it's going to get a lot of attention to this show, which is why it's canny and smart. So, Mr. David Tennant joining the cast of AKA Jessica Jones.
I lost my mind. It was the funniest thing, and I'm jumping the shark here a little bit because I'm going to say what happened, which was that I was at an event. I was at a screening of The Flash on Monday, and when I came out of it, I looked at my phone, and David Tennant was a Marvel villain, and there was an X-Men live-action series, like, confirmed. Although it's not really confirmed. We'll get to that later, I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I will watch the former Doctor Who in anything and everything. I am particularly excited to see him play a villain.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting choice, because he is so beloved by some of us as the Doctor.
Yeah.
And of course, he's done Broadchurch and then Grace Point.
Barty Crouch Jr. was a bad guy.
But I'm really looking, and it's a cool character, right? But
it's a really cool character.
I am curious to see how they're going to, because of his history with Jessica Jones, which is kind of nasty.
It's
really nasty, like, how far do you think they're going to go?
So yeah, he's not just playing a villain, he's playing a particularly cruel, nasty villain. So he's playing the Purple Man from Marvel lore, who's an old-time villain. Daredevil, I think, was where he was first introduced. But he was just kind of there on the periphery, and they didn't do a lot with him. There was a great story about him that's one that they unfortunately cannot do unless they get the Fantastic Four rights back, which was called Emperor Doom, about Doctor Doom. But he was literally a cog in the machine in that story. It was like Doctor Doom gets Purple Man, amplifies his power, but he's just like, he's just trapped in a machine, so Doctor Doom can, can control everyone. It was a great story, but Purple Man himself was just kind of whatever, and then just Alias, the comic book, used him in this much more cruel, awful way, very powerful way.
Yeah.
And I will be interested to see, where this show sort of where they're willing to go as far as the psychological ramifications of all that.
We should leave that.
I think the details. But all you have to say is like he's the Purple Man. He can control people with his mind, make them do what he wants.
And it definitely plays into the nature of her character in a big way.
Yeah.
So in almost so much so that if they don't do it, it's kind of loses a big piece of who she is.
There'll be a version of it.
Yeah.
I think there will be a version of it. They announced he's playing Kilgrave, which is Zebediah, I believe is his first name, a great comic book name. But so I don't know, will he have the purple skin or not? Or maybe it'll be that thing where when he uses his powers, he turns purple or something.
That was one of the things that I wanted to ask you about. How far? Because to me, it seems like what we're going to be getting from these Netflix Marvel series is like the street level, like which is exactly what we're getting. More grounded, more realistic. Yeah. Are you feeling like they're never going to go quite that far?
I think they'll just they'll restrain it because the MCU now. I mean, God, Guardians of the Galaxy. We did a whole funny tongue-in-cheek article about know your green and blue people because there was a lot. But this show being what it is, where it is, I'm gonna guess he will not have purple skin all the time. But when he uses his ability or something, there'll be some effect that will either change his skin temporarily or just a lighting thing. Yeah. That David Tennant will not have to be covered in purple makeup the entire time he's working on this show. His beautiful face. He oddly kind of looks like the character. Once they read that he was playing it, I'm like, oh, he kind of actually looks like he has. And when he has when he does a big goofy smile, if he made it the creepy smile.
Yeah, it's certainly going to bring a big chunk of genre fandom to the show. I'll say that.
No, that's what I was saying. I mean, and I think he's a great actor too. So I'm not just like, oh, they just did it to get attention, but it's great for that 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Great actor who has this big fandom who might not have checked out this particular show.
Now they will.
Yeah. And then they'll be disturbed by him.
Yeah. I was going to check it out anyway, but I am actively hugely excited.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to lie.
No, I thought it was awesome casting. The other big piece of casting that was very interesting because if you read Alias, this character had nothing to do with Alias, and yet she's a huge part of Marvel history, was Rachel Taylor from the first Transformers movie and the Charlie's Angels reboot a few years ago, has been cast as Patricia Walker, a.k.a. Hellcat in the comics, who we're guessing is going to basically take the place of Captain Marvel in this story.
I didn't know we were guessing.
Oh, we aren't? A lot of it. So here's the thing. Again, I won't go into details if you haven't read the comic book. But in the comic book, Jessica Jones, ex-Avenger, ex-superhero, but her buddy, who's still part of the scene, is Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Has a lot of scenes has them hanging out together.
So this is her bestie.
And so that's a lot of people's theory, and I agree with it. It just kind of makes sense to me because while it would be completely awesome if they had an actress that they cast as Captain Marvel for the movie, and we first met her in Jessica Jones, as elaborate as Marvel is being, there are still kind of limits to that. I don't think they're doing that, and so what I am guessing is that she will take the place of that. I'm out there being a superhero, but we can sit and chat because we have a history together, and maybe we used to fight together.
I think that a character that's going to lead her own movie is going to be reserved for the films.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They will have people that are like they've done with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
They'll have your Sifs show up on S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that, but they're not going to have probably Captain America show up.
And I mean, we might at some point, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that one day the lead of one of those movies will show up.
Yeah.
But if Carol Danvers had as significant a role in the TV show as a comic book, she'd be a recurring character, kind of like Lindsay Fonseca on Agent Carter. And to that extent, I don't think that's happening.
Scheduling wise, I just don't even think that's realistic.
Yeah. And you just get into they haven't cast this person yet. They don't even have a director yet for Captain Marvel. There's a lot to work out there.
Although there were all of those rumors that they had actually shot stuff with an actress and that that was going to show up in Avengers 2 and then they scrapped it. I don't know if there's any validity to those rumors at all.
Yeah, who knows?
Or if she was recast or secretly cast or what. I think if someone had been cast, that would have bubbled up.
We would have at least be hearing the name as a rumor. And we haven't really heard anything but speculation. So that is, I believe, how they'll probably use her because Hellcat, and it kind of works well because Hellcat is a longtime Marvel hero, but never a huge player with her own story. So it kind of makes sense. Let's kind of use her in this way in this story. And by the way, just a total trivia thing here for Hellcat is so funny because she first appeared as Patsy Walker, who had her own comic book in the 50s and 60s when Marvel was doing fashion model comic books and stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom used to read the Patsy Walker comics, so I got to explain to her, they turned her into a superhero named Hellcat. And her boyfriend turned into a supervillain named Mad Dog. And it was basically telling someone that Archie and Veronica eventually became enemies and superpowered characters.
Yes.
Right? that would be freaking awesome.
That.
Because another character who's...
I always hated Veronica. I would love to see Archie kick the crap out of Veronica.
What? If Veronica is a supervillain attacking him.
If Veronica is obviously under those.
You don't want.
It's in
an
one
unmotivated.
Podcast, in one podcast, I'm wasn't that domestic violence campaign great?
Right.
Beat
you know what
Veronica,
I'd really
Archie.
like to see?
Beat her, knock her out. No, if she was an empowered supervillain,
right.
Then I would like to see it happen because she
murdering
was,
people.
She was always so bratty, and I always felt like Betty got the short end of the stick, and she was so sweet, and it wasn't fair. We should probably move on.
Going back to Jessica Jones, I will just say that another character that had a fairly significant role in the comic book that, again, I think they'll have to have a proxy for if they decide they want to use anything is Scott Lang, Ant-Man. So unless Paul Rudd is I'm sure, and Paul Rudd is awesome and is going to be on Parks and Rec in the final season.
He will do TV.
So it's possible, but I also, maybe they'll just change that and tweak that. We'll see.
I think that does just get so complicated, though. Again, not just in terms of how and when they want to play certain characters.
Yeah.
But it's just scheduling wise.
Yeah, because these actors want to and should be allowed to do other things. Right. They cannot literally be yes, your entire year
is about being
only being Marvel.
Yeah.
And even was it Chadwick Boseman who's playing Black Panther, who was actually only and is still a huge commitment, is a 5-movie deal, which is less than a lot of them.
Because he wants to be able to do other things. Right. They all do. They're actors. They need to express themselves.
But anyway, I'm very excited by all this stuff about Jessica Jones. Yeah. So we'll keep you updated.
Are you more excited about Daredevil? Putting you on the spot.
I don't know. In a way, personally, more for Jessica Jones, just because she's never been done, and I love that comic, even though I love Daredevil too. Yeah. I just love Alias so much, so I just hope they nail it.